Nova Design needs fresh vision, Elena. Someone who understands the digital landscape, Trent Sullivan said, his eyes fixed on the sleek tablet in his hands rather than meeting mine. The board feels it's time for a transition. I sat motionless in the modernist chair facing his desk, the termination documents placed between us like a declaration of war. 26 years at Nova, from junior designer to creative director, ended with a rehearsed speech about company direction and evolving markets. Fresh vision, I repeated, keeping my voice steady despite the anger building inside me. My team just won the Richardson account, a $30 million project. Our biggest ever. And we're grateful for that contribution, Trent replied with practiced sincerity. He finally looked up, his 34-year-old face carefully arranged into what he probably thought was compassionate professionalism. But design is changing rapidly. We need someone who intuitively understands digital natives. Someone younger, you mean? I didn't phrase it as a question. Trent winced slightly. Your severance is 6 months' salary. Very generous, considering the standard is 3. The company appreciates your years of service, Elena. Service. Like I've been a loyal butler rather than the creative force that had built Nova Design from a boutique studio into one of the most respected firms in the industry. Who's taking over? I asked, though I already suspected the answer. Aiden Mitchell will be stepping up as creative director. Aiden, my protagonist. I'd hired him 5 years ago, fresh out of design school, talented but raw, with more confidence than experience. I'd mentored him, championed his ideas, helped him refine his considerable talents, and now he was taking my job. I see, I said, gathering the termination papers. Well, I won't take up any more of your valuable time. I stood smoothing my charcoal pencil skirt and headed for the door. Trent called after me, Elena, I hope there are no hard feelings. This is just business. I paused, turning back with a smile that didn't reach my eyes. Of course, Trent, it's just business. Walking through Nova's open concept workspace, all glass, steel, and carefully selected ergonomic furniture that I had personally approved, felt surreal. Designers and project managers glanced up as I passed, their expressions ranging from confusion to pity. News traveled fast in creative agencies. At my desk, my assistant Marco hovered anxiously. At 22, he was one of the youngest employees at Nova, brilliant with digital platforms and fiercely loyal. Is it true? He whispered, helping me gather personal items from my desk. Afraid so. The company needs fresh vision. I replied, unable to keep the bitterness from my voice. That's bullshit, Marco said fiercely. Everyone knows you're the reason the Richardson account chose Nova. I smiled at his loyalty. Apparently experience has an expiration date in this industry. What will you do? He asked, handing me a framed photo of my daughter Mia and me at her college graduation last year. I haven't thought that far yet, I admitted. Though that wasn't entirely true. Something was already forming in the back of my mind, not fully formed, but a spark of an idea. Whatever it is, I want in, Marco said without hesitation. I studied him for a moment. Careful. You have a promising career ahead at Nova. A career copying trends instead of setting them, he scoffed. I came to Nova to learn from you, not from some algorithm-chasing hipster who thinks good design is whatever got the most likes last week. His passion reminded me of myself at his age, before mortgages and single parenthood had made me prioritize stability over risk. Before I'd given my best years to a company that discarded me the moment gray started appearing in my dark hair. I'll be in touch, I promised, surprising myself with how much I meant it. Outside, I sat in my car for a long moment, staring at Nova's sleek building with its award-winning architecture. I'd helped select the architect, had worked closely with him on creating a space that reflected our design philosophy. Now I was being forced out of it because, at 52, I was deemed too old to understand what modern clients wanted. My phone buzzed with a text from Mia. Dinner tonight? I have news. Mia, my brilliant daughter, 24 years old with dual degrees in business and computer science, already making waves at her tech company. I'd raised her alone after her father decided fatherhood didn't fit his lifestyle goals. She'd watched me climb the ranks at Nova, sacrificing evenings and weekends to prove myself again and again. Yes, my place at 7. I have news too. That evening I opened a bottle of wine as Mia set our dinner table. She looked so much like me at her age. The same dark eyes and olive skin, the same determined set to her jaw when she was processing something important. "So what's your news?" I asked, trying to keep my voice light. Mia took a deep breath. "I quit my job today." The wine bottle nearly slipped from my hand. "You what? Why? I thought you loved working at Tech Fusion." "I did at first," she said, taking a bottle from me to fill our glasses. "But they keep sidelining my ideas. The project manager, this guy who's been there maybe 2 years longer than me, keeps taking credit for my work. When I called him out on it, he said I should be paying my dues before expecting recognition." The irony wasn't lost on me. "Seems like we're both having career transitions." "What do you mean?" she asked, suddenly alert. I took a long sip of wine. "Nova let me go today. Apparently, I'm not digitally intuitive enough for their evolving brand direction." "What?" Mia's outrage was immediate and fierce. "After the Richardson campaign? After everything you've done for them? That's age discrimination, Mom. We should sue." I shook my head. "And spend years in court while my career stagnates?" "No, I have a better idea." The spark that had been forming since I left Nova was catching fire now. "Tell me more about that app concept you've been developing." Mia blinked, momentarily thrown by the change of subject. "Designscape? It's an AI-assisted collaborative design platform. It would help teams create more cohesive brand experiences across different media." "Why?" "Because," I said, feeling more energized than I had in years, "I think it's time I stopped building someone else's dream and started building my own. Our own." Mia's eyes widened as understanding dawned. "You want to start a company, together?" "Think about it," I said, excitement building in my voice. "Your technical expertise, my industry experience and connections. Your Designscape platform as our flagship product. We could create something that bridges the gap between traditional design excellence and digital innovation." "Legacy design," Mia said immediately. "That's what we'll call it." I raised an eyebrow. "Legacy? Isn't that a bit old-fashioned for a tech-forward company?" She grinned. "That's the point. It honors experience while creating something new. A legacy isn't just about the past, it's about what endures and evolves." Plus, she added with a mischievous smile, "It's a subtle middle finger to anyone who thinks expertise has an expiration date." I laughed, feeling lighter than I had in years. "To legacy design, then." We clinked glasses, and just like that, a new chapter began. The next 3 months were a whirlwind of activity. I liquidated some investments for startup capital while reaching out to my extensive network of industry contacts. Many were surprisingly eager to help. It seemed I wasn't the only experienced professional troubled by the industry's youth obsession. Daniel Ramirez, a former client who now headed marketing at a major tech company, was one of the first to offer support. An agency that combines deep design experience with cutting-edge technology? Count me in. We've wasted too much money on pretty interfaces that don't actually solve business problems. Meanwhile, Mia refined her Designscape platform, working marathon coding sessions with Marco, who had indeed quit Nova 2 weeks after my departure. They were joined by Priya Sharma, a brilliant UX designer who'd been passed over for promotion at her previous company in favor of a younger, less experienced designer. We set up shop in a converted warehouse space, not the gleaming glass temple that Nova occupied, but a space with character, history, and most importantly, affordable rent. As word spread about what we were building, more talent came our way. Surprisingly, not all were industry veterans cast aside by youth-obsessed companies. Many were young designers and developers who were frustrated by shallow work environments that prioritized trends over substance. Jason Kim, a 26-year-old developer who joined us from one of the hottest digital agencies in the city, put it bluntly during his interview. "I'm tired of building flashy garbage that breaks the moment the client tries to actually use it. I want to learn how to create work that lasts." 6 months after being unceremoniously shown the door at Nova, I sat in our growing office reviewing the prototype of Designscape with Mia and our core team. The platform was revolutionary, combining AI-assisted design tools with collaboration features that solved real problems design teams face when working across different media. "We're ready for beta testing," Mia announced, pride evident in her voice. "I've lined up 5 companies willing to pilot the platform and provide feedback." "Make that 6, Marco interrupted, looking up from his computer. "Richardson Industries just reached out. They want to be included in the beta." I couldn't suppress a smile. Richardson, Nova's biggest client, was now interested in our product. And that's not all, Marco continued, unable to contain his excitement. There's a rumor going around that Nova is struggling with the Richardson account. Apparently, their fresh vision isn't translating into effective deliverables. We're not building this company on Nova's failures, I reminded him, though I couldn't deny feeling a certain satisfaction. We're building it on our own strengths. That philosophy guided us through our first year, while we kept tabs on Nova's increasingly desperate attempts to recapture their market position. Our focus remained on creating something truly innovative. Designscape moved from beta to full release, quickly gaining attention throughout the industry for its unique combination of intuitive interface and powerful capabilities. Legacy design grew rapidly but strategically. We hired based on talent and creative vision, not age or trendiness. Our office became a dynamic mix of experience levels. Each team member valued for their unique contributions rather than how well they fit some arbitrary cultural mold. Then came the call I'd been both expecting and dreading. "Elena Gilbert," I answered, not recognizing the number. "Elena, it's Trent Sullivan." His voice sounded strained, nothing like the confident tone he used when terminating me. "I was hoping we could meet. There's a matter I'd like to discuss with you." "I'm quite busy these days, Trent," I replied, keeping my voice neutral. "Perhaps you could tell me what this is about." A pause. "It's about a potential collaboration between Nova and Legacy. We've been impressed with what you've built, especially the Designscape platform." "Collaboration," I repeated. Interesting term. And what exactly would this collaboration entail? Another pause, longer this time. "We should discuss the details in person. Are you free for lunch tomorrow?" Curiosity won out over petty satisfaction. "Fine. Giovanni's at 1 p.m. The following day, I arrived at Giovanni's, an upscale Italian restaurant that had been a favorite client meeting spot during my Nova days. Precisely on time. Trent was already there, nursing what looked like a double scotch despite the early hour. He'd aged visibly in the last 18 months, new lines etched around his eyes, his designer suit hanging slightly looser on his frame. "Elena," he stood, extending his hand. "Thank you for meeting me." I shook it briefly before sitting down. "You mentioned a collaboration." He took a deep breath. "I'll be direct. Nova is struggling. We've lost Richardson and 3 other major accounts in the past 6 months. Aiden's direction has been problematic." "I'm sorry to hear that," I said neutrally, though I wasn't particularly sorry at all. "The board is considering drastic measures," he continued, "including a potential merger or acquisition. Your name came up repeatedly." I nearly choked on my water. "You want Legacy to acquire Nova." "We want to discuss the possibility of joining forces," he hedged, though his expression confirmed my interpretation. "Your Designscape platform is exactly what our clients have been asking for, and your agency's reputation for combining innovation with solid design principles is precisely what Nova has lost." The irony was almost too perfect. The company that had discarded me for being too experienced was now seeking salvation from the very experience they had rejected. And what would my role be in this joint venture? I asked, already knowing I would decline but curious about how far Trent's desperation extended. "You would lead the creative direction of the combined entity," he said without hesitation. "The board recognizes that certain personnel decisions may have been hasty." "Certain personnel decisions," I echoed. "You mean firing me because I was too old to understand digital design, then watching as I built a more successful company specifically focused on digital design?" Trent had the grace to look ashamed. "We made a mistake, Helena. A serious misjudgment." I studied him for a long moment, remembering the humiliation of that day in his office, the severance papers, the condescending explanations about fresh vision. "I'd appreciate your candor, Trent, but I'm not interested in acquiring Nova or merging with it. Legacy is doing quite well on its own trajectory. At least consider making a formal offer," he pressed. "The Nova name still has value in our client list. What remains of it would complement your growing portfolio. I'll discuss it with my business partner." I conceded, though I already knew what Mia would say. "But don't expect a quick decision." Back at Legacy's offices, I shared the lunch conversation with Mia in our conference room. "They want us to buy them out." She laughed in disbelief. "The same company that thought you were too old school to lead them. That's priceless." "Karma has a certain poetry to it," I agreed. "But we need to consider this from a business perspective. not a personal one. Mia sobered, shifting into the sharp business strategist I'd watched her become. Acquisitions are messy and expensive. We'd be taking on their overhead, their workplace culture issues, and whatever client problems cause their biggest accounts to leave. She shook her head. It doesn't make strategic sense for us. We're growing organically with a healthy culture and clients who specifically chose us for our approach. My thoughts exactly, I said, feeling a surge of pride in her clear-eyed analysis. But there might be value in cherry-picking some of their talent if they do go under. Mia's eyes lit up, including Aiden. I laughed. Now who's being petty? 2 weeks later, we gave Nova our official response. Legacy would not be pursuing an acquisition, but would be open to hiring selected team members if Nova's situation changed. The message was diplomatic but clear. We weren't interested in saving the company that had discarded me. 3 months after our meeting with Trent, Nova Design announced it was closing its doors after 32 years in business. The industry publication cited changing market conditions and increased competition in the digital space. But those who knew the real story understood. They had sacrificed accumulated wisdom on the altar of youth worship, and it had cost them everything. As former Nova employees began seeking new positions, we hired selectively, bringing on those whose portfolios showed genuine talent and who embraced our philosophy of blending experience with innovation. And yes, among them was Aiden Mitchell, the wonderkind who had replaced me as creative director. His interview was uncomfortable for both of us, his formerly boundless confidence replaced by humility born of failure. I made a massive mistake, Elena, he said frankly, not just accepting your position, but believing I could replace what you brought to Nova. The company needed evolution, not revolution. And what did you learn from that experience? I asked, neither warm nor cold, simply professional. That true innovation doesn't come from chasing trends or from discarding established wisdom. It comes from building on foundations while having the courage to experiment within frameworks that actually work. He met my eyes directly. I learned that 26 years of experience can't be replaced by enthusiasm, no matter how genuine. I considered him thoughtfully. Aiden was talented, that hadn't changed, and if he truly learned from Nova's implosion, he could be a valuable addition to Legacy. You'd be starting as a senior designer, not a director, I said finally. You'd need to earn any leadership position through demonstrated results and team collaboration. I understand, he said, relief evident in his voice. I'd welcome the opportunity to learn from you again, properly this time. 2 years after being told I was too experienced for the modern design landscape, I stood on a stage accepting the Industry Innovation Award for Designscape 2.0. Legacy Design had grown to 60 employees spread across 2 offices, with clients ranging from Fortune 500 companies to cutting-edge startups. We had built something that genuinely bridged generational approaches to design, creating work that was both timeless and timely. In the audience, I could see Mia beaming with pride, along with our diverse team of designers, developers, and strategists. Aiden sat among them, now leading our digital experience team after 18 months of solid work and genuine growth as both a designer and a person. This award recognizes innovation, I said into the microphone. But what it really celebrates is the power of perspective, the kind that can only come from combining different experiences, backgrounds, and approaches. I paused, looking out at the industry that had once deemed me too old to contribute meaningfully. At Legacy, we believe great design isn't about age, young or old. It's about understanding both what changes and what endures. It's about recognizing that trends come and go, but principles of human connection remain constant. In the back of the room, I spotted Trent Sullivan, now working for a smaller agency across town. Our eyes met briefly, and he gave a small, acknowledging nod. The future of design belongs to those who value all voices at the table, from the seasoned veteran to the fresh graduate. Because innovation doesn't emerge from homogeneity, it springs from the creative tension between different perspectives. After the ceremony, at our celebration dinner, Mia raised her glass in a toast. To proving them wrong, she said with a grin. I shook my head, smiling as I raised my own glass. To proving ourselves right. We had done more than build a successful company. We had created a model that showed how experience and innovation could not just coexist, but strengthen each other. We had demonstrated that value doesn't diminish with age, it transforms and grows. And somewhere across town, I hoped the industry was learning that lesson, one client at a time.